Hello, everybody. Welcome to Stories with Sapphire Live. I am Sapphire Sandalo. This is a live stream that I do every Wednesday at 5:30 Pacific, where I read your emails and your stories. So, oh man, I do want to apologize right off the bat if I seem really off. I could not sleep last night, and so I woke up at like 4 and I just could not go back to sleep. So I just like laid in bed. Hi, Luke Garvey. Hi, Parrots. Hi, Orion X07. Thanks for joining. Oh, thank you for subscribing, Frosted Moon. So while we still wait for people to trickle in, just a reminder, you can send your own emails and stories to storieswithsapphire@gmail.com. It's right here on the screen the entire time. I go live every Wednesday on Twitch, and then I repost it the next day on my YouTube channel in case you couldn't catch the live stream because, hey, life happens. Can't always be sitting at your computer watching people talk. The people got things to do. Hi, Weekly Creep. All right. Let me see. I mentioned how I got no sleep last night, but when I did end up falling asleep, I had just the worst dream. It was one of those dreams where you feel like everybody in your life is upset with you. You don't know why. And I was really depressed in the dream and became suicidal. And I was like, when I woke up, I'm like, what the like, what? Oh, it was too much. And then I Googled it, and I guess it's kind of in line with all of my dying dreams that I've been having, where it's like something needs to die. Anyways. Oh, kumusta? Maayo ko. Kumusta ka? Hope I said that correctly. All right, so let's get into it. We have our first story. Pull this baby up. Here we go. So this story was something that happened to my mom when she was young. When she was still very young to remember anything, but my grandma remembers it crystal clear. My grandpa had gotten this new job at a factory, and since the factory was located several hours away, he thought it would be the best to move near the factory area. The house was dirty, to say the least. It took them about 1 week to clean the whole house, but it was worth it. 2 stories with a patio. It was amazing. But my grandma had some doubt. My grandma had some doubt because this place was beautiful. After it was cleaned, she always wondered why, for a house like this, the rent would be so low. But my grandpa reassured her and asked her not to worry about it. Everything was going well for about 6 months. My grandma didn't feel odd about the house anymore, and my mom had made a new imaginary friend. My grandma thought it was absolutely adorable and was also happy even when she was busy. My mom had someone to play with. My mom would talk all day about this woman she played with in their patio named Beth White. Not Betty White, Beth White. They played every day and spoke about everything. But for some reason, my grandpa didn't like my mom's imaginary friend, and no one knew why. He just didn't feel right about it. One day, our neighbor, who was also my grandpa's friend, visited. They were talking, laughing, having snacks and beer, when he noticed my mom playing alone on the patio. He laughed and asked my grandpa who she was talking to and playing with. My grandpa told him about the imaginary friend and how it's been going on for a while. But then, when he told his friend the name of the imaginary friend, his face dropped, like he went absolutely quiet. My grandpa noticed and asked him about that. That's when he said something that scared the living soul out of my grandparents. He said that a few decades ago, there was a Satanist and witch called Beth White who would act friendly to kids and lure them. She would later sacrifice them to her husband, Satan. When the town caught up to her, they were furious and covered her face in animal feces and dragged her from her hair and forcefully hung her to death. They later burned her corpse and didn't even give it a burial. The place where she was hung was our patio. This was why no one lived there. This was why the rent was so low. My grandparents packed their stuff and left the very same day. They sent people to get the rest of the stuff back, but they themselves never went back to that house. Well, that's it. If you're reading this, thank you and have a great day. What? This comes from Rin Rin. Very, very classic ghost story. Kid has an imaginary friend in an old house that nobody wanted to move into and the rent was so low. But the details about who the person was, who Beth White was, that's really interesting. That's something different. And the kids never remember, huh? They never remember when they're adults. Oh, sorry. I forgot to mention that I got a Lola on my lap. Oh, she didn't want to leave, so here she is. Say hello, Lola. All right. Oh, wow. I am so loopy right now. Well, thank you, Ren Ren. All right. Let me mark this as red. And also, if this is your... Oh, no. What did I do? Oh, no. Oh, okay. If this is your first time ever joining a live, I read these... I don't read these ahead of time. So I will trip up. This is not as polished as my podcast episodes, so I do apologize. All right, this one's called My Own Scary Story. Hello, at the Sapphire. My name is Vortex. Ooh, I'm 14 years old. I've been watching Snarled for 4 years, and I found this channel after you left, and I wanted to share my story with you. Around a month after my 10th birthday, I was watching YouTube on my tablet, getting ready for bed because I had school in the morning. I recall it being around 10:30 at night. My room was a mess, clothes everywhere, and by my bed frame was a baseball bat from an old Harley Quinn Halloween costume from the previous year. I chuckled to myself, looking back at how I strutted down the streets holding that same bat confidently in the air. I was so full of myself, acting out as her, but enough of that. I got back to watching my video after daydreaming. Then I heard something under my bed, like rustling. The under part of my bed was big enough for an adult to fit under because my bed used to be a bunk bed. But we moved the bottom bunk out and put it in the room across the hallway after my grandmother passed away from kidney failure. I thought nothing of it because this house was older than me. But I heard something else, clear as day. 2 knocks under my bed. I was scared. Out of fear, I grabbed that same bat as I tried to hype myself up to see what was under there. But I was too scared. I dropped the bat on the ground, jumped off of the bed, ran through the Jack and Jill bathroom, and went to wake up my mom, who was passed out on her bed. She told me, however, it was all just a dream. I slept in her bed that night. 2 weeks later, I saw my friend Judea. We didn't see each other often that year because she was still in elementary school and I was in middle school. She invited me to her place for a sleepover, and I said, yeah. We sat in her room, decorated with things from the movie Frozen. Her being my best friend, I told her what happened that night. I'll call what she's about to describe as the creepy bed knockers. The creepy bed knockers are 2 girls who were cousins, Delilah and Delaney. They were both killed in horrific ways. She never told me how, but she did say they were both murdered. My thoughts on hearing that was they were probably abused by family or loved ones, or stabbed, or maybe burned or drowned. They love to scare kids, like me. They didn't bother Judea, though. They were her friends, or so Judea claimed. She kept asking me questions about it. Did you look? What do you mean? I replied. Under the bed. Did you look under the bed? No? Good, good. She went on saying if I did, I may not have been alive. She desired it as a fate worse than death. She described it as a fate worse than death. Now that I'm almost 15, I haven't heard the knocking since, and me and my friend Jade are still trying to keep our friendship together. But what's going to happen if I look under my bed if they do come back? Okay. I got a little bit confused when it turned into so the friend was describing what they think that the knocks were. Did I get that? Am I correct? Oh my gosh, I'm so out of it, y'all. All right. Well, I feel like knocking is probably probably the most common type of paranormal activity that people experience. Sometimes knocking in the walls can be something not paranormal, and I think that's why. I wasn't there, so I don't know what you heard. I'm not saying you didn't hear knocking on the bed, but whether or not it was a spirit, jury's out. I recently learned about, I forget what type, there's some type of beetle that lives in the walls, and when they're mating, it sounds like knocking in the walls. So that's cool. That's the thing about learning about the paranormal. You end up realizing that, a lot of it isn't. But a lot of it is. All right. Next story. Moving on. This one's from... okay. This one's called I Always Feel Something in My Room Every Night. Hello, Sapphire. I'm a huge fan of your podcast. You may call me Leah. This is not a long story, but I decided to share it anyways. This all happened to me. In the summer of 2020, me and my cousin decided to watch some paranormal videos on YouTube. We were about 10 minutes into the video when I saw a black shadow run right past me. I asked my cousin if he saw it too, and he did. We were both freaked out. We decided to stop watching those videos and decided to go grab something to eat, and we did. A couple days later, I was sleeping in the living room when I woke up to see a tall black figure standing near the windows. It was pitch black outside. The only light that was on was the hallway. It was clear enough for me to see what it was. After about 5 minutes of staring at it, I was really spooked, so I just ignored it and went back to sleep. I know it wasn't sleep paralysis. The next morning, my grandmother decided to burn some incense in the apartment. She never said what it was for. This all happened in Romania, in a very old neighborhood which was filled with old apartment buildings from the early 1900s. I am now in England, but ever since then, I cannot go to sleep without feeling a presence in the room with me. I was a very spiritual and paranoid person since I was about 7 or 8 years old, but it doesn't really bother me that much. I'm still very spiritual, and I'm currently that type of person to keep crystals and burn incense only in the room. But now, every night before I go to sleep, I always catch a slight glimpse of that same figure I saw that night in the corner of my room. I don't know what to do. I feel like if I told my parents about it, they would laugh at me. They know I'm very spiritual, but they always make fun of me for it. Well, Leah, I'm sorry that your parents make fun of you for that. Hey, note to parents, don't gaslight your kids. You're supposed to make them feel safe. If your kid is scared of something or they say that they see something and you tell them that you're imagining it, what do you think is going to happen when they do run into something even worse and they don't trust you enough to come to you? I never really understood that. Like, you, as a parent, you would want to be a safe space for your children, right? I don't know. Well, thank you for sharing that. I've actually heard of a couple friends who have had something similar happen where, they did something and then for several years they just always felt like something had been following them. Never saw anything though, just sort of felt like something was around. And it wasn't until like they told a friend who was a witch, they did something, and then the feeling went away. So if you have any friends, if you know anyone who is a spiritual authority in some way, a witch, a shaman, a healer, a priest, whatever your belief system is, have them bless you, have them try to get rid of it. Maybe try talking to it yourself. I don't know. I usually do suggest that to people of trying to communicate with it on your own, but sometimes it's better to have someone who is more experienced because I forget why. I'm so sleepy. Because if it's like if you start a fight that you cannot finish yourself, then you can become overpowered, if that makes sense. Anyways, all right. So now we've got this one. This is from Johnny. Hey, Sapphire, just want to say real quick, I love your podcasts and YouTube videos and all that. You're doing amazing. Thank you, Johnny. I'm not the best storyteller, so please bear with me, but I'll do my best. This happened about 15 years ago when I was 20. A little backstory to this, I was living in Brownsville, Texas for about a year at the time when the recession hit and had recently become homeless. I got super lucky and made a friend there that let me live in his garage, so I did have a roof over my head. This garage was closed up, but the surrounding windows were covered with mesh, so no glass or anything like that. I had been living there for maybe 2 months or so at this point, and whereas there were some issues, I was pretty comfortable. I had a mattress on the floor that I would sleep on. So one night, something very strange happened that I still think about today and still wonder what the hell it could have been. I was on the mattress, still awake but trying to doze off, when in the distance I heard this strange sound. It was unlike anything I've ever heard before or since. It was like a screaming sound, almost wailing or crying in complete pain, but still unlike a human scream, and not like any animal I've ever heard. The sound kept getting closer and closer to where it sounded like it was directly beside the garage. And like I said, the garage had mesh windows, so it's not like there's anything really there to dampen the sound. Whatever it was lingered there for a bit, making that screaming sound. And as you can imagine, I was terrified. There was literally nothing that could really keep it out. If it wanted to, whatever it was could easily rip through that mesh lining. All I could do was lay there and ignore it, close my eyes and pretend I was asleep, and hope for the best. Luckily, it started to move away. The sound started quieting and moving further and further until I couldn't hear it anymore. I still have no idea what this could have been. I was thinking maybe that a La Llorona legend, considering it was the right area for it, but the sound just doesn't fit, and I heard nothing being said asking about seeing children or anything. Banshee? I just have no idea. Hopefully, maybe you'll have an idea as to what this possibly could have been, because I'm at a loss. Again, thanks for everything you do, and you're totally awesome. Well, thank you, Johnny. So actually, this reminds me of a couple videos that were on Paranormal Caught on Camera. So there's a lot of videos where people hear what sounds like unhuman-like screams, that was coming from the woods or whatever. And if you search for fox screams or fox barking, fox mating sounds, it sounds eerily similar. So, my suggestion is to look that up, listen to it. If that sounds like it, if maybe look up the area that you're staying in and see if that type of fox exists in that area. I don't know if there are wild foxes in Texas. Maybe. But look that up and let me know, because when I heard that sound, I was like, "Oh, that's like in all these videos." And again, here's the thing. I'm not saying that is definitively what it is, because, you can't travel back to that moment and know if it was a fox. I'm just saying it's another thing to think about, another possibility. So I hope that makes you feel better. All right. We have time. Oh, no, we don't have time for one more. Let me see if I have a short one ready. No, I don't. Okay. Well, we've come to the end of our time. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. Thank you, Lola, for being a cute girl as always. Oh, you made a little sound. It's okay. All right, want to say bye, Lola? All right, say bye. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Shh. It's okay. It's okay. Say bye. Shillow's giving kisses. All right. Good night, everyone. I'll see you next week. Don't forget, StoriesWithSapphire@gmail.com. See you. Bye. I need to take a nap. Mwah. Okay. Bye.